into a brand new wave, drowning out the noise that's tame. Liberty whispers through the brave, breaking free from every chain. Nullify the rules they crave, crypto beats that pave the way. Anarchy with minds that's safe, algorithms built on to tape. Out of bounds and out of sight, building futures pure and bright. Escape the grip and win the fight. Welcome into the legacy ride. Beyond control we take a stand, casting off the iron brand. Freedom flowing through our hands, revolution's our command. Decentralize the way we plan, all together we expand. Breaking shackles for the clan, in this journey we're on pan. Out of bounds and out of sight, building futures pure and bright. Escape the grip and win the fight. Welcome into the legacy ride.
I love it when a plan comes together. I am the legacy of Jennifer Kaiser. This is Legacy News, episode 75. Please follow us over on Rumble. There is the link ticking down at the bottom. And if you want some Legacy Right merch, head over to the shop and get yourself a coffee cup. I like coffee. I also like tea. Perhaps you do the same. Other than that, let's get to the show, because it's just a Monday grind, everybody.
Hey guys, what's going on?
You want a cigar?
I'm good, thank you.
You don't want a cigar? You don't want a Fuente? Here.
I'm fine.
You don't want a hit?
I'm good.
It's all lit to hell too.
I can tell.
Welcome in, everybody. Remember,
Hey,
communism is demonic. That's why we're in the search for God.
That's right.
Why are you what's going on with your eyes, man?
What do you mean?
What are you drifting off to and looking at?
I'm just tired. Constantly going.
Constantly going. Well, speaking of going, this man that you have a video for, we said on Friday's episode, or actually Saturday's episode.
Crypto Saturday, Wednesday, what?
It wasn't crypto though. That was for the weekly legacy. We were gonna go over a video, and we're gonna go over that said video. So, speaking of being tired, I don't think this man sleeps.
that he
especially if you
never
get on.
can put it down. He's
Yeah,
just
you get on.
he's a
No, go
philosophy
ahead.
junkie.
That, and if you go on his Telegram page, free domain, uh, he's always doing something on there. I haven't been following recently, but geez, oh Pete, he probably has a live stream on Telegram like every night.
Probably.
Uh, so I don't think he sleeps. So, uh, shall we jump into it, or do you have any elaboration before we get into it?
Well, it's just a little bit of an older video, but it's still very relevant to the topic at hand, and I think it's be very you know eye opening to people who've not seen it. So it's just his
Why is it
perspective on
relevant?
evidence for relevant to the conversation at hand. Like I said, it's the video's titled "Evidence for God," and somebody asks him, "What is the evidence for the existence of a creator?" And he kind of goes into the realistic understanding of how you know
Mhm.
we can objectively see things as, like I said, a realistic understanding of evidence for the existence of a creator. So
I mean, evidence does not necessarily mean proof. Evidence is evidence, and we have plenty of evidence just within firsthand primary sources dating back. Coming from the Christian perspective of God, going back to the first century. We have the evidences going through the Old Testament, the Hebrew Gospel or the Hebrew Bible, the Torah. We have evidence of ancient mythos of ancient Mesopotamian nations, Babylonia, the Sumerian tablets. I mean, we have the ancient Indian mythos in North America. I mean, these are all evidences of something, of God in some capacity. We have the pictographs all over caves across the world that signifies some type of creator deity and some sort of mythological aspect towards what is probably real. You have to look into the concept of what the ancients were trying to establish in how they could present it. They are presented it in their own way.
yeah,
Could that mean ancient? Could that mean ancient aliens? Sure. Could that mean God? I think so. Could that mean both?
absolutely.
Maybe. Maybe. I mean, I've always said it, and I think the Vatican actually echoes this too. If the evidence points towards ancient astronauts coming to this Earth way back in the day, and there's other life in the universe, then that kind of that kind of adds more relevancy to God, because that means that life is sacred and God creates life. So there's more life in the universe. Why are we completely special? We're not completely special, but I think we're more special than anything, in my opinion, on the fact that we're still learning.
Absolutely.
That's the whole premise of everything. That's the whole purpose of life, is to learn and to understand and to try to find some sort of purpose. Otherwise, if you have no purpose, then you might as well just not going to say it for YouTube purposes, but you might as well Hillary Clinton yourself.
Okay. Uninstall yourself, I see.
Yes. There's no purpose. Then what is holding you back from uninstalling yourself?
Yeah.
If everything is relative, then what is the meaning to life? Because everything is relative. There's no good and evil, there's no right and wrong. You can do you, I can do me, and there's nothing holding anything together. So I think this is going to ask a lot more questions than it will answer. But that's what philosophy is all about, right? Ask one question,
Absolutely.
you get two more.
Yeah. Well, you ready to jump into it?
Let's do it.
All right. Just a second.
What evidence can you use to establish the possibility of God? I'm not looking for absolute proof of God existing. That's impossible. As with the converse, definitively establishing God does not exist. Just ideas, scientific theories, and personal observations that would fall into the quote, God is possible column. That's from Amy.
Hello, Amy. How you doing tonight? Can we establish the possibility of Amy?
You can. I just hit the. I was on the. I hit the mute button.
Oh, it's okay. I only do that about 4 times a week, so no problem. No problem at all. Thanks for calling in. It's a great question.
Oh, okay, great. You know, this is great to be here. Thanks for having me. So,
My pleasure. Do you want to talk a little bit about your thoughts on it so that I can gather mine? No, I'm just kidding. I'm ready. But if there's some sort of more background you want to give or anything that you wanted to add to what you were talking about?
I guess not really. I mean, I haven't listened to all of your stuff or read all of your stuff, but I was just,
What? What? Come on, there's only 3,400 podcasts and 8 books. What have you been doing with your... I'm just kidding.
But I just wanted to, and I heard what prompted me to call in was, I think, you do a lot of shows, but one of your more recent shows that to me didn't sound like it really went well. It was sort of like 2 people not communicating well. And so my thought was, why don't I call in and see if, like I said, no, very low pressure. I don't, I was agnostic, atheist. I became a Catholic over a series of years. And I'm not going to come into this saying you have to believe what I believe, because I can't offer you, like I said in the question, I can't offer you a scientific mathematical proof. I actually also have a degree in geology. But on the other hand, I've come to think differently of it, right? And have a belief that was different from what I had before. So I was just interested to see if basically you could kind of argue the other side, if there was something.
I want to say she said something interesting because I'm probably in the same parameter as she. I took the same path. I was baptized Catholic at 4. My dad actually put us into the Catholic Church because he is so insane that he saw me as a toddler, probably 1 teetering on the 2. We went to mass. We were visiting my grandparents, and we went to mass one Sunday while we were there, and I naturally genuflected because I'm a child and I'm impressing what I'm observing with everybody coming in and sitting at the pew. So I naturally genuflected. So that is my pathway of entering into the Catholic Church, because my dad used that as a sign, which was really just a child doing what a child does, observe, and as an impressionable mind. I was very in tune to that Catholicism, though. I went to Catholic school. I actually was very much endowed as a Catholic as a child. And hell, one of my goals in life that I thought that I wanted to do as I was getting older, still within my single digits, was go to seminary and become a priest. I would even, on certain days that we actually didn't go to mass, that dad didn't actually go to mass, I would do mass for everybody. I had this little prayer book, and I would sing the Our Father. It was, I mean, literally every day. As I got older, I gravitated away from Catholicism. One, because of what it represented. And what it represented to me was the negative pitfalls of Catholic school and the negativity that I went through being a kid who was bullied. I was a small child. I was a very small child. And every time I would actually have success in pushing forward is when the bullying got worse. Like basketball. I started playing basketball. I was not great. Nothing really came of it. I got better and I practiced and I got better than my whole team. And the bullying began because I was better. I still to this day, my 6th grade year, we went 11-0. We didn't do postseason. We went 11-0. I was homeschooled at this point, but I played for our Catholic school, and I'm still going to adamantly gloat and say I was a big part of that 11-0 season because of my defense. That's where I really practiced was my defense, and that's where the bullying got worse. So I have other effects in the Catholic Church. We had a priest that really didn't give two shits about anybody but himself. He actually pressured that bully culture because if you're part of a family, if the kid is part of a family that's giving more to the parish, it was all about the money. So nobody, you turn the other cheek on what really is going on. And then there's other aspects. My dad was not the greatest father. He wasn't there at all. In fact, I it took my mom passing away at 33 years old. I'm now 36 for my dad to finally be a father. With yeah. Um, but I've gone through my cycle. I've gone through uh a drift away of being an atheist, being somebody who's lost, being somebody who delves into drugs and alcohol, being somebody who wants to be accepted. And that's the reason why I probably jumped into drugs. I was more outgoing when I was a drug addict because I wasn't myself. And as I was coming out of that phase, I traversed into more agnostic ideals, fighting each and every way with the pathway that I was perceiving that was or was not. So I was ignoring every single sign that God was giving me until recently. I actually listened. But I went through my agnostic phase. I went through my deism phase. I began to believe, well, maybe there is a creator God, but I'm a Jeffersonian. Went through my libertarian phase. Giggles. To keep this short, what I'm trying to say is I went from being propelled to being a Catholic because of family culture through my own pathway of atheist, agnosticism, moral relativism, deism, back to the Catholic Church. I accept the Catholic Church for what it truly is within the scriptural element. The Catholic Church, the Eastern Orthodox, this is the apostolic succession. Ignore the corruption. Man is corrupt. Hierarchies are corrupt. That's inevitable. But you have to also look into the Protestant realm as well. You have corrupted men who want to be worshipped as idols as well in their interpretation of scripture and leading the flock in their own realm. I don't care where you end up on your pathway towards God. You can be a fucking Methodist. You can be, as long as you're not a Mormon. Please don't become a Mormon.
I'm being a Quaker now.
You can be a Quaker. Actually, that's a beautiful thing. I don't care where you end up, but somewhere along the line, as you grow up, and you mature, you're going to finally see the signs and actually understand them and follow the sign, because the Holy Spirit really does work. But I love the fact that she mentioned that she went agnostic and now she's a Catholic, and I had to bring that up. So I'm sorry. You have anything to say, or you want to jump back in, Andrew?
Badquaker.com. All I'm saying. Ready? Here we go.
that you could latch on to, maybe, so that why people believe what they do about God seems more reasonable, basically.
No, that makes very good sense to me, and I have been thinking about this a lot lately. So I'd like to thank Baal for sending you. But no, I mean it's a great question, and for me, the most powerful argument in the God is possible column, as you put it, is I have a very exciting brain to live in. It's just fireworks and gymnastics and Cirque du Soleil, like from when I wake up until when I finally tamp it down and go to bed. And I find it hard to fathom how a couple of pounds of wetware, of chemicals and electricity and cells and mere biological processes can produce everything that seems to spontaneously combust and be created within my mind. The dreams at night, the inspirations during the day, the poetry of some of my speeches, which are not rehearsed, not completely on the fly. I think about the questions before, but the idea that I am a mere meat machine with this level of inspiration and reason and poetry and language and spontaneity and creativity, this Vesuvius firework that seems to go up from my shoulders to the very stratosphere, it feels like the depth of my experience, the profundity of some of the thoughts that I have and the insights that I have, the depth with which I reach people in these conversations seems impossible to encase within this little skull egg of tiny dimensions. When we look into the universe and we can contain the universe within our mind, we can conceptualize the length and breadth and depth of the universe. The idea that we can look into the universe and understand and process and engineer and, what is it Matt Damon says, science up this bastard, or whatever he says in The Martian. The idea that we can encapsulate the universe within mental processes within our mind, the fact that we can send a spaceship past the moons of Jupiter because we can take the unfathomable distance between us and Jupiter and reduce it to a series of equations and controls and processes and gravity wells and you name it. The idea that we can take a near infinite universe, fold it up. You can't fold a piece of paper more than 7 times. Oh, yes, I've tried. But we can take the universe and we can fold it up and encapsulate it within the wetware of our few pound brain. It seems functionally, biologically, technically, physically, absolutely impossible for a mere few pounds of flesh to take and fold the entire universe and place it within and think beyond it. And so what our brains are able to do is so incomprehensible for me to be tied into mere matter, that the idea of the soul, the idea of a spark of divinity, the idea of being a shard of the divine encased in the meat robot suit is to me one of the most compelling arguments. Now, for me, where does the universe come from? To me, it doesn't matter nearly as much for me, the existence of God, where the universe comes from. What matters to me is that we care where the universe comes from. We really care about it. How retarded and ridiculous is that for, a bald ape meat puppet to say, yeah, but that thing, 14 billion years ago, that's where we've really got to focus a lot of our mental energies. It's like, how the hell does that put a caribou leg on my plate? It doesn't. Why do we care? Why do we care where the universe came from? We sure as hell do. Why? How can we have infinity in mortality? How can we have abstracts in the concrete of an encased piece of meat? How can we have the grandest concepts that span the universe through all of time? They don't just grow the billions of light years across the universe, they go the billions of years back in time. How can that be folded up and encapsulated in this tiny little flesh prison of a skull, a spine, and some short circuits? Why do we care? Why do we care about ethics? Why do we even have a concept of God? Why do we have a concept of virtue? Why do we have a concept of self-sacrifice that is larger than our life itself? So that is not obviously a syllogistic argument, but to me that is an experiential argument that I remember from when I was a child, where I said, I cannot conceive how it is possible that we unsteady, eyesight failing, balding apes can partake so deeply of eternity and infinity without having some fragment of eternity and infinity within us. It's like being drunk without alcohol.
Very nice.
Very nice. Is
It's very nice.
Is that
I mean,
the slow clap from the last
Yeah, I
cue?
could. I mean, it's really, that's really what I was looking for. Just some sense that people struggle with it. I mean, it's such a huge concept. God, and everybody does, and to have something you can hang on to and say, okay, maybe it isn't quite so crazy that people go there with this, with God, right? And that's all I was looking for. I was that last phone call was that, at least the one I heard, it wasn't good. So, so the question is, I mean, do you want to ask me a question? Where do you want to go? I mean, I'm satisfied. You answered my question. So,
well, you know what they say: when you've sold, stop selling. Well, there's more, which is, and again, this is very personal to me, but maybe I'm sure it has resonance with you as a Catholic. But I care so much about honesty and truth and directness and accuracy and universality, philosophy, ethics. I care so much about these things, and I'm not sure I know why. Now, if we say that God is truth, God is virtue, God is consistency, then one of the ways in which I would say that the root of my caring for these things, that the root of it comes from, the way they say that life may have landed on the earth from an asteroid, flaming through, boom, hits the ground. That I may have been infected / inspired with a hypomanic desire for consistency and integrity and truth and virtue and honesty because of the meteor soul that fell into the arid meat of my innards. That it is almost like an infection or inspiration of divine virtue to care so much about these things, sometimes to my detriment, right? I mean, if I was not this way inclined with sort of my verbal skills and my charisma, it could have been the sky's the limit. It could have been, just about anything that I wanted. But my inability or unwillingness to compromise, this ferocious pushback I have against limiting honesty, limiting empirical evidence, limiting arguments, my willingness to lose family and friendships for the sake of truth and integrity, which is not much of a biological imperative. Evolution should have weeded me out
it's
like 1.5 million years ago. Right? Makes no sense. Sure, I'll give up the capacity to breed and have friends and have a family of origin because abstractions. Because truth and virtue that nobody likes and nobody will support, and I will be attacked and condemned for. Yay, evolution! You are off the island, right?
Well, I can tell you like a related story to that.
Please help me.
Help you. All right. So, when I grew up as sort of, I did go to CCD for Catholics, right? Or now it's changed, whatever.
Sorry, you did go what?
CCD is Sunday school. All right. So,
Okay.
but my
Right,
family was
Sunday
not
school.
religious, right? And when you grow up Catholic, you don't know anything about the Bible. So,
Oh, come on. There's some nice stories. You color them in, right?
Say it again.
Well, I believe it's called faith formation now. Yes, CCD. I forget exactly what it's. Something I don't know. It's been a while since I've been at CCD. I was a child, but I believe it's called faith formation now. Another thing though that you grow up Catholic, you don't know much about the Bible. True, but we live in a time that you need to get that mentality out of your head because you can. We first off, it's 2025 now, so we have the internet. If you don't have you can go to a bookstore or you can shop online, go on even Amazon, get yourself a Bible, or you can just use the internet and search and you have apps. I mean, my phone's on charge right now, but I mean, I have 2 apps on my phone that are Bible apps. Plus, I have the Ascension Catholic Bible as well. So that's one of the apps I have. You can read the Bible all on your own. Now, you may not necessarily understand it, and I think that is where, when it comes to the Catholic Church, I think that is where the Catholic authority is imperative to have, because when you're lost in the confusion, you want to have somebody there, say a priest, to help guide you through the confusion within that idea that the Bible gives out. So you're not misinterpreting. You're not going deep into your feelings, sola scriptura. But you shouldn't. We live in an age where we shouldn't be blindly Catholic. You get what I'm saying? We shouldn't
Yeah.
be blindly Christian. Period. You shouldn't be
Kind of like
blindly
some
Christian.
people rely on religion, and they call it, what is not really science and scientism. They don't
Mhm.
think of anything outside of it's scientific, and they treat that as a form of religion.
Trust the experts, right? We went through a large span of time 5 years ago, actually for 3 years. So really, it was only about 2 years ago where the word I cannot say for YouTube purposes, because you never know. I mean, that in itself is a form of cultish worship. I mean,
Hmm.
you shouldn't. You should listen to expertise, but you should not put all your faith in the so-called experts, because sometimes we're all human beings. We're all corrupt. We're all sinners. We all have our own biases. And if you put all your eggs in one basket and listen to the experts, then how do you know that the experts are wrong? No, you want
Right.
to have expertise in your own right. So you want to fulfill your own interpretation through your own biases, combine that, balance that with those who are perceived as the experts, so that you have a full-on picture.
Hmm.
It's just like in Matthew when Jesus uh, discusses the idea of render unto Caesar what is Caesar's, and to give God what is God's. I think we need to balance that out and get rid of our own biases while understanding other people's biases on that interpretation. Jesus is
Right.
not saying Jesus is not saying that state authority is great. In fact, Jesus is saying divorce from that state authority. The only authority is God. And to give what is God's to God is yourself. You give yourself. You trust and have faith in Him. You give your heart. You go heart to heart with Jesus, with God, with the Father, with the Son. You must be willing to divorce yourself from the material and embrace what is the immaterial. And by doing so, yes, give up what is Caesar's. And what is Caesar's? Everything that is fake, like your money.
Yeah.
He was referring to the money. What is on the coin? What is on the coin? Whose face is on this coin? Caesar Augustus. It's his. Give it up. Give it back. It's not that to a statist, to a statist who says that they're Christian, they would look at that as human state authority taxing. That's great. We live in we have to be able to pay for everything we get in a society, right? So so in order to be civilized, we have to pay. We have to pay, right? So there's a problem with that. Human beings are corrupt.
Yep.
So with that verse, it has more to do with you giving yourself up for what is not real and having trust in something that is immaterial, untangible, meaning you really can't touch it. And just, I don't know what else to say, man. Just having faith in something better. But if you have confusion, then always ask for help to try to decipher what that actually means. And you're probably 9 times out of 10, you go to the priest in your parish, if you're a Catholic, is probably going to interpret it a different way. That's why there's series of documented paperwork on it. So you might have to do some homework, and that's what's beautiful about the internet. But one person might say something different, while another person might say something different, while another person says something different. And so where does the line draw? You get what I'm saying? Where can we balance out your argument for that verse with your argument for my argument for their argument and come together and figure out what it actually means? Because we're not perfect. We're not going to be able to find anything perfect. And I'm talking too much.
It's okay. You want to jump back into it?
Unless you have something to say yourself, we can.
No, I think this is very interesting so far. So let's go ahead and jump on in.
I know. So anyway, but I remember I was 19 and I was at college, and I was lonely and depressed, and going through what college freshmen do, really. I mean, you're just away from home. It's stressful, and so I walked over to the science building, which my school was out west, or it is still out west, but this particular building had been situated so that a trolley wouldn't run through the middle of the campus. So it's angled quite comically on a green that faces a road that ends at the college, right? And it was made out of sandstone. It was built around the turn of the century, and emblazoned on it is, "Ye shall know the truth, and it'll set you free." And it will set you free. Ye shall know the truth, and it will set you free. And I remember thinking, I wanted that more than anything. I wanted the freedom of knowing the truth, right? And it's one of those things that most of my college is a blur, but that stuck out in my mind, right? And life goes on. I won't bore you with like 20 years of life history there, but as I've gone on, what I've noticed is that the closer you get to truth, the closer you are to a kind of freedom, a kind of peace, right? That people who lie to themselves all the time can never have, right? And I was a little embarrassed to discover about maybe kind of 10 years into my journey here, that's from John. That's from the Gospel according to John. I was like, whoa, whoa, where did that come? And that was kind of part of that journey that brought me back into Catholicism, because it was like what I thought I knew about Christianity, about God, about that kind of stuff. It was all a cartoon, right? And what had struck me on this building, emblazoned in stone, was something I had already had. I mean, I already had it there. I was raised Catholic. I had this piece of information, but somehow I had to be sitting in a building all by myself. It's a strange thing. So, and I don't know where I'm going with that, other than just to say that I understand that. I mean, I understand the attraction to the truth because I felt it, and I felt like what I said, I consider a more authentic freedom than I've ever known. It's painful. I mean, it's painful as all get out. You have to be wrong all the time. But if you can get there, wow, just wow. Just anyway, that's
the first wow, just wow I've ever heard on the internet that I really liked. Because, no, I appreciate, no, normally it's this horrible sophist thing, but no, that was really, really great. That was really great. Can I share something else with you?
Absolutely.
It's just between us, okay?
Go ahead.
Wait, is this being recorded? All right. A few times, Amy, I would dearly love to have been taking orders rather than making decisions. Now, taking orders sounds negative and harsh. I don't mean it that way at all. What I mean is that in this headlong march to bring reason and evidence to the world, I've certainly understood, and of course I was raised religious, and I certainly understood that if I could, that cheesy line from a country song, that Jesus take the wheel.
Oh yeah.
Right.
It's cheesy, but I like the song.
It's cheesy, but it's powerful.
Yeah.
Because there's times where I would have loved the idea of saying, I'm doing God's will. God has built me and instructed me and inspires me and motivates me to do what I'm doing. It is his goal. I am merely his agent. I am a chess piece. I am filled with the power and depth of divinity. And it is the approval of divine eternity that I must satisfy, not the opinions of my mortal and horizontal tribe. That it is the deepest and most powerful and most virtuous perspective and scope in the universe that I must align myself with, and that I am filled with, and that I am motivated by, and whose approval I must seek, not the inconstant, flickering Socratic flames against the wall of a transitory experience that will be over all too soon. That I am, to quote the Blues Brothers, I am on a mission from God. And that's tongue-in-cheek, but it's also not. Because it would be great to think that I had the omnipotent backup of omniscient eternity in some of the conflicts that I have with the world that is. And that the reward, which sometimes feels elusive, not often, but sometimes the reward feels elusive, but that the reward would be guaranteed no matter what the outcome. That I would fly to a benevolent and beneficial home of divine approval and applause no matter what happened in my life. I can really, really understand the draw of that perspective because it gives you strength to believe that, right?
Yes. There's some dangers with it, but yes.
Wait, the megalomaniacal
Yeah.
narcissism
Yeah, I
and
mean,
everything I do is divinely sanctioned and I can do no wrong and God is with whoever wins. No, I get all of that. And I would never be tempted to that because this perspective that I have, Amy, or this, dare I call it a temptation, right? But it is out of humility. It is out of humility. It is not out of grandiosity. It is out of humility. To transfer the demands of being a philosopher to the infinite shoulders of divine strength is an act of humility, not an act of trying to own or ride divinity for my own purposes. You know, if I say I can't carry something, that's an act of humility.
yes.
If I say I want a giant divine robot exoskeleton Iron Man suit in order to take over the world, that's a little bit
Yeah.
different from humility, and
Yes.
that's not what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, it is. I mean, when, you know, when Christianity talks about being reborn, right? Well, in order to be reborn, something has to die, right? And what has to die? I mean, there's, you know, to me, you know, if you've never read, say, like Mere Christianity or G.K. Chesterton, you know, even just with, you know, just with an open mind and to look at these thinkers from just even the 20th century, there's just an incredible amount of thought that goes into it, and part of what they're saying is what had to die, especially like for C.S. Lewis, he even puts it in Mere Christianity, but was like this sense of this concept of, you know, that ego. You know, the ego has to die before you can be reborn and say, okay, I'm handing this over. But it's painful. I mean, it's painful. It's C.S. Lewis has a great line of apologetics, and one of them is the Great Divorce. And you know, there's no fire and brimstone. There's no, you know, hell. He describes hell accurately, but with a completely modern terminology and to understand it better. And so what he does, in the Great Divorce, he has a young man dream, right? And what he dreams of is starting in a place that everybody would sort of recognize as hell, right? It's the city that is in a twilight fog. You know, there's no place to go. There's no bars. Nobody talks to each other. I remember you had said in one of the snippets of the previous shows, you had said when you were young, you know, that when you had been with other people, that was the time you felt most alone and most, you know, most confined, which that's a paradox actually, right? You know, that you're surrounded by people, but you feel alone. And so C.S. Lewis does this great job of creating a world like that, you know, of full of people, but nobody talks to each other. Nobody has any pleasure, no, you know, none of that. And then, but this man in the dream gets on a bus, you know, very, very 20th century, right? He gets on a bus and he goes to essentially purgatory. And what's interesting to me is that he spends a lot of time in what's the equivalent of purgatory. And he talks about the idea that it's painful, right? It's not, you know, Christianity can offer people a lot of comfort, but first there's a lot of work to be done. And a lot of people, it's hard because, you know, a lot of you kind of, you know, we live in a society of Christians, and you'll encounter a lot of people.
Yeah.
I think that's this might be a two-parter. Crypto Wednesday won't be Crypto Wednesday this week, everybody, because I think we're gonna take a deep dive, and we're gonna finish this video off on Wednesday. So to be continued. If you enjoyed this, like, subscribe, share it, follow us on Rumble, follow us on YouTube, and share this with your friends and your family. And I leave you with what she was saying, what they were both saying. Philippians 4:7, and the peace of God, which surpasses all comprehension, will guard your hearts and your minds in Jesus Christ. I give you Philippians 4:13 as well. I can do all things through him who strengthens me. That's what's on this cross. If anybody ever wanted to know why I wear it, not only is it blessed, actually, it is blessed. It's blessed by the bishop, but this is Philippians chapter 4, verses 7 and 13. Your only strength is within Christ. Learn to trust. Learn to love. If you can't trust, you cannot love. And that's the whole concept of searching for God, is relationship. Because if you can't love God, you cannot love yourself, and thus you cannot love anybody else. And you cannot do anything without the love and the trust and the relationship with anybody and everybody, including yourself. So I leave you with only Christ can give me strength, and only Christ can give you strength.
Very powerful.
We will see you on Wednesday, 5 p.m. Happy Monday, everybody. I hope you have a wonderful, blessed week to start your week off right and end your Monday hopefully powerful and influenceable. Like I said, share this, like this, get your family and your friends to listen to us, because I think both of us have a lot of things to say. That's not what YouTube's algorithm wants you to fall in line with. Anything to finish off, Andrew?
I'm interested to see how this goes with the rest of the conversation. It's very good so far. So thank you guys for joining us as always, and we'll see you soon, okay?
Peace out, everybody. There's an old man behind you.
What? Old man?
There's an old man behind you.
I'm going to have to leave now, but I was sure I came in by that door over there. Hey, man, where's the door to get out of here?
Oh, it's right over there, sir.
Right over where?
The exit sign? Exit sign? It's that door right there.
That red sign?
Yeah, just go right that way.
Okay.
I think it went down the wrong door.
Where am I? Hey, what the fuck's wrong with you? That's not the right door.
Sir, you're gonna want to go to the one with the exit. You went to the door to the side there.
I went to the right doors and where you pointed me to, you fuck.
I pointed you to the exit.
Man, you're fucking with the wrong guy.
I'm sorry.
You see this bulge on my hip? You know what that is?
That's a gun.
That's a Glock. You're fucking with the wrong guy.
Yeah.
Don't ever send me to the wrong door.